Good Sunday morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing. Looking at our impact map, we do expect a cool and moist pattern to continue from today, becoming more widespread with showers and maybe some high elevation snows through Monday, Tuesday, possibly even lingering into late Tuesday or Tuesday night before a gradual drying trend towards the latter part of the week. We look at precipitation over the past 7 days, and a lot of this is over the past 24 to 36 hours. You can see that most of the geographic area here on the left has received precipitation. A lighter shade of blue is just a low-end wetting rain. However, once those bluish shades get darker and darker, we're talking about quarter-inch to half-inch amounts, and anything in the green is anywhere from a half-inch to over an inch of precipitation. That's just currently what's fallen. We do expect significantly more precipitation over the next 72 hours. You can see on the right-hand side over the past 30 days, a significant amount of precipitation across most areas. The only location out here towards the Uinta Basin out through here, kind of a little donut hole. So they've been locally on the drier side across parts of eastern Utah. We look at our 3-day trend with ERCs, and you can see that this is our driest area through here, where we're still in the 70th to 79th percentile. But this will be changing very rapidly with that precipitation. We should see most of these points go into the green as we go into early next week. Here's a look at the water vapor imagery this morning with upper level map superimposed. You can see low pressure now moving into northern California. The counterclockwise flow pulling in a lot of subtropical moisture, and these enhanced areas in the green that you see here across Nevada, which are growing, are bands of showers which will become steadier and more widespread as we go through the day. And this low pressure will very slowly plod across the region for the next 2 or 3 days, continuing the cool and moist weather trend. The latest radar imagery shows precipitation now expanding across Nevada, similar to what we had seen on the water vapor imagery. And as the atmosphere becomes more unstable, we'll see these showers expand both to the east towards Utah. And you can also see by the track right now going into parts of southwestern Idaho. This will also expand in coverage as we become more unstable during the afternoon hours. Here's a look at the upper level map for this morning. You can see that trough of low pressure moving onshore across California and the associated moisture across Nevada and also parts of far eastern Utah. If we put the maps into motion by this afternoon, you can see that moisture spreads up into Idaho, also starts expanding eastward into Utah. And as we go through Sunday night and into Monday, you see that area darkens and deepens across Nevada into a good portion of Idaho, where our lone remaining large fire is getting ready to be closed out. Still some lingering moisture up through here and in eastern Utah, moving into Wyoming. As we go later on in the period, we see that moisture does expand into Utah by the time we get into early Tuesday morning. And then continuing across a good portion of Utah as drier air works in from the west, but still remaining cool and showery by Tuesday afternoon into most of Utah, far western Wyoming, and far southeastern Idaho. And it's not until even Wednesday morning, still some wraparound moisture around this very slow-moving, stubborn, low-pressure system, keeping conditions moist across all of Utah. Drier air finally starting to build into Idaho. As we go further down the period, that low finally departs. Not until really even Thursday morning, some lingering moisture in some of those drier areas that we saw across eastern Utah. And then later on in the period, it's really not until Thursday night and Friday that drier air starts working on in as high pressure starts building in across the Pacific Northwest. And then going into next week, we finally see some drier air pushing in for the weekend. And way down the line, this will be late Sunday. High pressure over us. Should be a nice sunny day, drying out. We would probably need about 10 days like this to get fuels back into any sort of critical level, but we won't have that window. Another strong low pressure system now dropping down out of the Gulf of Alaska could be affecting us by early to middle part of next week. Here's a look at computer model projections for precipitation the next 7 days. And you can see across the Great Basin quite wet. This darkest shade of green is 1/4 to a 1/2 inch, and then these bluer shades of green are 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch to over an inch of precipitation. In a lot of these bluer to purple shade areas, even some localized amounts over 1.5 inches. This extends all the way up into the mountains of southwest Idaho and as well as down towards the Arizona Strip. So by and large, this is definitely going to be a wet pattern that should put things to bed at this point throughout the rest of the season. And to look at our 7-day outlook, we'll go to the overall tabular scale for the next 7 days with all of our areas because from today onwards, with that precipitation and higher humidity, they all go into that moist green category and stay there through the entire period, with the exception of far western and northwestern Nevada, which could briefly limp into a portion of the dry category, but nothing critical, and shortly thereafter we should see cooler, more moist conditions return to the region. Here is the Climate Prediction Center 8 to 14-day temperature outlook. You can see across the whole country above normal temperatures. That is due mostly to the El Nino that's currently developing, which does a pretty good job of bottling up Arctic air and keeping it up in northern Canada. Despite the warmness, you would think that we would stay dry, but in fact, we do expect to see more precipitation type events come through during this 8 to 14-day period. So the moisture that we get in this upcoming 3 days of fairly wet weather, this will be reinforced probably later on next week. For those that are interested, this is our current El Nino situation. A strong El Nino, maybe bordering on very strong, still continuing to grow across the eastern Pacific. You can see by this a warm stretch of water through here. Also further north off Baja, this warm blob of water. Both of these factors producing warm or relatively warm air over the Pacific and shifting it across the continental U.S. It's one of the reasons why those extended temperatures are expected to be warmer than normal, yet precipitation, with all that extra water vapor, is also expected to be above normal. And this concludes our briefing. We'll continue with the weather briefings through early this upcoming week, but we suspect as the wet weather comes to a close, we'll go back to our off-season format. Have a great day.